It's time for our summer three-way where we talk about the checklist for those teams who've already started their off seasons. Last week, we laid out our 3 checklist items to fix the Lakers this summer. Today, we're talking about the Dallas Mavericks, who weren't eliminated from the playoffs because they didn't make the playoffs, but they did just fire Jason Kidd. They recently hired Masai Ujiri, so they're on top of mind right now. So we're going to be talking about the Dallas Mavericks here. Really quick way to lay out the Mavericks situation right now. They have no cap space. They are $39 million below the tax. They should have the mid-level exception, the full mid-level exception available to them. They have this really interesting Anthony Davis trade exception of about $21 million. They also have the 9th pick in this draft and currently no head coach. Mike, your 3-item checklist to fix the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, so first, got to address the coaching vacancy. And for me, I think Sean Sweeney's the guy. He's one of the biggest names linked to it. Longtime assistant. I'm sure people listening to this podcast, I kind of heard his name pop up here and there, but he's basically known as a defensive mastermind. Super young dude. I think he's only like 38 or 39, who's concocted multiple top 10 defenses in different places. So like you had Milwaukee. He was the architect of kind of like the switch everything, Giannis, like snarling, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday defenses. Then he did it in Dallas totally differently when it was, based around like, how do we mitigate Luka Doncic's weaknesses on this end? And people forget how good that Dallas defense was when they had like Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively swatting everything and stuff. So like he was a big part of that. And then this year he's been the assistant in San Antonio and he's kept it's obviously easy to build a great defense when you have Victor Wembanyama there, but it's important to note that the defense has been about league average, even when Wembanyama is off the court. And he's just very highly respected. Supposedly he's great on the offensive end too, but he's just so good defensively that people keep giving him their defenses. And he's been in Dallas. He's familiar with some of the players on the staff there. Like I think he'd be a no-brainer hire. So that's step one. Oh, and also Sweeney was supposedly like the one-on-one guy who worked with Giannis when Giannis was really emerging. Love to see that with Cooper. A lot of similarities there. Yeah. I think it's a very clear roadmap into how to turn Cooper Flagg into this monstrous superstar, maximizing his potential. 2, draft pick at number 9. They're lucky that this is such a guard-heavy draft, and I think that they have to draft a point guard of the future. Kyrie Irving is there, but Kyrie Irving has proven that he is capable of playing the sort of combo role, and I think he'd be an amazing sort of like mentor for drafting somebody like Braden Berries or Mikael Brown. Getting some sort of 3-and-D-ish point guard that could kind of play next to Kyrie and instead of Kyrie and grow alongside Cooper Flagg. I think that's a huge potential chance for Dallas to establish a foundation, especially since they don't have too many draft picks left for the next few years. I've even seen Keaton Wagler linked to them. He's a little more offensively dynamic. Don't know if he'll fall that far, but like just getting some sort of point guard who can fit next to Flagg and learn from Kyrie, I think would be an awesome offseason win. And finally, this one's going to be a little more controversial with Dallas fans, but flip Derek Lively for literally anything that you can get. I don't care what it is. If you can just get off of Derek Lively for free, make it a second rounder. I think that's something you just have to do. I hate saying this. We've seen Lively be a solid contributor on a team that, won games in the finals. But there are a lot of teams out there that need centers. How often do promising-ish 22-year-olds hit the market? But man, the foot surgeries make me so nervous. He's played less than 100 games in 3 years. That's like, and this is theoretically at his healthiest, right? He's young. He's, hasn't had the wear and tear of all these years in the NBA on the road. And I think like they've already got Daniel Gafford there. I'm kind of intrigued by their own restricted two-way guy, Moussa Cisse. They'll have time to find another center if they need to. I'm worried that Lively is due an extension that will be, and he'll want some big money. And you don't want to tie up a significant amount of the cap sheet of Cooper Flagg's young prime in a guy who can't play. So if you are able to get anything for Lively, great. But I think that, and unless he's like, yeah, I'll sign an extension for like $7 million a year, but like, I don't think you can afford to give a guy like Lively 15 or mid-level type money or anything more than that. And if you can find value from him on the market, I think you should take it.
It's a great call. I think you're right. I hadn't thought about it, but you're 100% correct. Could you get a Lakers future first for Derek Lively? Probably, right? Like it kind of feels like the Lakers would do that. If that's the case, I think you have to do it. It's a great call. So we have some similar things here. Sean Sweeney was on my list of head coaches. I kind of cheated and I didn't include this in my summer checklist of hiring a head coach because I just like, you have to hire a head coach. It kind of goes without saying. I had Mike Nori and Sean Sweeney both written down. I said my note is just both of them would be a good hire. I don't really care which one, but we'll go with Sean Sweeney. Free agents, I'm using. I'm re-signing my own free agents, Marvin Bagley, Brandon Williams, and I'm picking up Nemhard's option. So I'm picking up those guys. I'm also using my mid-level exception on Anthony Simons. I need a guy who could space the floor. He's a knockdown shooter. He's not the kind of guy who's going to demand the ball. I think he works next to Cooper Flagg. I think he works next to Kyrie Irving. He gives us a knockdown shooter who's in the right age range for us, who can do a little bit of ball handling that I just feel good about, and I can get to a lot of interesting lineups with him on the floor to try to space things around Cooper Flagg. So that's what I'm using my mid-level exception on. I'm drafting the best point guard available, to your point. Like, if it's Flemings, if it's Acuff, if it's Brown, that's fine. If for whatever reason, like, there's a huge run on point guards before I'm picking at 9, Nate Ament or Morris Johnson Jr. as a wing, I wouldn't hate that for them as like a skilled 3-and-D kind of guy who would allow me to play Cooper Flagg at power forward more often, or maybe even at center. I could play one of those guys at center. Like, I can get into some interesting lineups there, but I'm probably going to try to get one of those point guards that fall to me. And then I've also got a trade. I've got 2 trades, and this is my third thing. Make these 2 trades. Trade Gafford to the Lakers for Connect, and I think I talked about this in my Lakers one. I just think it's a win-win. And then use the Anthony Davis trade exception. It's $20.8 million. There's some really interesting players that you can get for that. I was going down the list of contracts. Players who would fit that trade exception: Kyle Kuzma, Malik Monk, Jakob Poeltl, Lou Dort, who the Thunder might have to make a decision on, Grayson Allen, Wendell Carter Jr. These are all players on expensive rosters who those teams could be saying, like, look, you'll absorb that contract? Here, have them. No price. My first call would be to the Thunder for Dort. If I can get Dort, it's a done deal. I'm just getting that guy in my building. But if I can't get Dort, I'm looking in a center. And I'm stealing your idea too. So I'm trading Lively and I'm trading Gafford. These are 2 injury-riddled centers. I don't need this right now. I don't need the money tied up. I'm trading both of them. And then with the trade exception, I'm absorbing a new center. And so let's say it's Wendell Carter Jr. from Orlando, if they need to try to shed some money and create some flexibility, or I'm getting Jakob Poeltl from Toronto. That Poeltl contract is pretty tough, but it's not horrible for a team with a bunch of rookie scale contracts like I plan to be if I'm Dallas. It's worse if I'm the Raptors roster and I have a bunch of guys making $20 million plus. So that's what I'm doing. I'm trading my 2 centers and I'm starting over. I'm using my trade exception to find a bridge center for now, and then eventually I'll draft my center of the future. But even in the meantime, I've got Kyrie, Max Christie, Cooper Flagg, PJ Washington. Let's call it Wendell Carter Jr. at the 5. I've got Anthony Simons, Brandon Williams coming off the bench. I still got Klay Thompson and Dalton Connect hanging around. I got Najee Marshall hanging around for a year. Love Najee Marshall. If he's a trade deadline guy, or maybe even if I'm another team and I just need a wing, I'm calling Dallas and I'm trying to figure out what the price is on Washington. I got Marvin Bagley coming off the bench. I got some interesting guys. So
yeah, it's not a terrible, this is not a team that's going to be bad next year. I think that they're a play-in push is something that they should reasonably aim for. Absolutely.
That's it for this week's Good Take. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. RealGM Radio will be back on Monday with the Double Dribble. Mo and Jared, who are going to catch you up on all of the hoops from the weekend. Thanks for tuning in.